Welcome to Unselfishly Me, a podcast all about self-love, self-care, and everything in between. I'm Jane, a personal trainer with a focus on self-love. Each week, we'll be chatting to someone about their self-love journey, how long it took, and what it took to get there. Today on the podcast, I have a very special friend as a guest, Dr. Megan Medina. She is a friend from Durban. She is a homeopath. She is a yoga teacher. She is a wife. She's a mom. She is just this incredible cheerleader that if you are a client, you know what I'm talking about. She just cheers you on whatever you are going through. She is really good with fertility and an array of other issues. She helps with pay as well. I always order her homeopathic drops. They are a win for the snotty nose and the barking seal cough. She's incredible. And yeah, the way we met, you'll hear how we met and how she's inspired me over the last few years. And basically since I've met her. And she has moved to Hilton. She's been living there a few years now, so she goes between Hilton and Durban. But she does do online consults in South Africa, and you can get a little bit of Meg. And if you'd like to do one of her courses, they are online and self-paced. So really nice way to get back into your body, out of your head, into your body, healing symptoms that you've had, and just knowing how to better support yourself, because we don't do that enough. We don't look after ourselves enough, and we give love to everyone else but ourselves. So if you take one thing away from this podcast, it is to put more energy back into yourself and to practice better self-care. So I'm super excited for this episode. I hope that you love this interview with Dr. Megan Medina. Yay! So today we have Megan Medina here with us today. I'm very excited because we've known each other for a long time. And she is going to tell you a little bit about herself. And then we're actually winging this today. We decided that we're not going to have notes, or I'm not going to have specific questions. I think we just have that energy with each other. And I know that she knows her topics and her industry so well, and what the messages she wants to give to everyone. So I'm just letting it flow, which I'm quite excited about. It's quite nice to just let it happen and have someone who just wants to let it flow. So Meg, tell us a little bit about yourself.
How's it? You know what? Actually, if I could sum myself up, I would say that is me. I am like the ultimate flower. That's how I roll on pretty much everything. And I try to bring that into my professional life, and I try to teach that in my professional life. I try to teach that.
You tried to teach that, and then you froze. That's how important it was. We were freezing that statement in time.
Yeah, and to pick it up where we leave off, right? Yeah. But I'm a homeopath, and I work with functional medicine. I work with root cause medicine, and I work to find out the reason why and why the hows are happening in our body. So I'm less concerned about your symptoms, and I'm more concerned about why you are making these symptoms. That's sort of how I operate in my practice. I see a lot of fertility patients. I do a lot of pregnancy work and pregnancy preparation, birth preparation, and I do a lot of postpartum, like holding space for new moms and little children, pediatrics. So that's sort of the realm of where I work, as well as teaching yoga, although I haven't taught in a while. But yeah, that is definitely my passion. And like I was saying, when we did the Awaken Yoga Festival, it was like re-sparked in me that this is something I need to be doing again. Is to just to hold space and flow with the people and listen to the music and listen to your bodies, and it's the best. So my plan is to start teaching a little bit more yoga as well next year.
Yeah, good. Finally, that's how. That was my first. So my first introduction to yoga was at Virgin Active at Kings Park with a man who shall not be named, a man teacher, and then I was like, "Is this yoga? Like, this is not what I thought." And then we're having renovations at our gym, and then most of us went and trained at Moses Mabida, and then Meg's class was there, and I went to this class, and I was like, this is completely different. I was like, oh, this is yoga.
Yes.
That was 2010.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I've known you for like 12 years. So
I know.
I was like, oh, this is completely, I love this. This is, and you were such a good teacher. I think I went back and I told everyone, and I was just like, she's amazing. And I like, whenever I would go there, I only looked for like your classes. And I think I only went to like one or two, and then I ended up going back to Kings Park. But like, I literally remembered you. I like made sure I remembered your name and everything, so that I was like, when I didn't do it for, I think, a few years after, and then I found you again. And I was
Actually,
like, yes, you were teaching a tree. And I was like, oh, it's you. I was like, I found you again. And it was just so nice. And yeah, the way you teach, I miss that. So yeah, I think it's really important. And it's so functional with what you do as well. So I think like we've both taken our main job and we've amalgamated it with everything else, and they've both become so holistic, but so naturally like integrated into each other.
absolutely. And I mean, if that isn't like being a woman, right?
Yeah.
Like being women are being able to like incorporate all the things that set us on fire. We're so not linear. We're so multi-layered and multifaceted and complex, and we've got all these things that like, yeah, that like spark us alive. And I feel like that's when you're living it, when you're living your best, is when you're not living this linear, like I can only do this one thing. You're starting to pick up and pull in all these things. I mean, how else do mothers operate? Like children and households and jobs. And I mean, that's how we are. We are multifaceted, and
Mm.
how nice to work in that realm as well.
And I think also if you bring in, do you know your human design?
I don't. It's on my list of things to do. Yeah.
You have to do it. I would be interested to see. I think you probably also, I'm a manifesting generator. I think you're probably the same because you do like lots of different things, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yes.
Oh, okay, we're
Yes.
gonna go. We're gonna check. We're gonna check after this and
I'd
see.
love to. Yeah.
But there's so much I want to ask you, but something that sparked when you said the root cause.
Mm.
So we'll go into everything else, but I wanted to ask you, even if we try to remember this for the end, do you treat any mold toxicity patients?
Oh my
Have you?
gosh. Well, toxicity is a big one. Yeah, huge.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
because
I do a
I'll
lot.
just say it worried me. I don't know. I had this bee in my bonnet that there was like mold in my office or something. It was the Yoga Girl podcast when she was diagnosed with it, and like she shared a lot. So been following people, and it makes me paranoid, and it's something that I bring up a lot when I do angel readings. And if it brings up and it lands on home, and it's like check the east side of your house or whatever, I'll always be like, go and check if you have an aircon there or blinds. Go check behind there for mold. Like I'll always mention mold. So yeah, right now a friend of mine, her friend, she's got lupus. She was diagnosed with lupus a few years ago, and then now she's got another one with her liver, where the liver is another autoimmune. The liver is almost like attacking itself. And I just said to her, I said, I'm telling you, because she had told me that there was mold in her house, and my alarm bells. I said it a while ago to her, and then now I said to her, it's the mold. I'm telling you now, it's the mold. She needs to do a detox, and she's get out of that house. Like my gut was just like, it's the mold, mold, mold.
Yeah.
And I think that so many people are living with mold in their house and don't even realize why they're sick.
And Durban, like humidity, like we burn those air cons, they're like running all the time, and we're constantly living in this like super humid environment. Um, and Hilton, because it's forever misty, there's always like moisture, and that's the thing. It's like it grows in this like insidious moisture, you know. So yeah, mold is a big one, but don't be paranoid, right? Because this is it. Like mold, like any other stealth infection or issue, it's about susceptibility. So if you are weakened, if you are metabolically shattered and depleted, or in a negative headspace, or nervous system is whacked, or dysregulated, anything is going to knock you over, right? So it's about that bucket. It's about your toxic bucket and how much your system can handle, can handle, can handle. And if let's call it your metabolism, your body's ability to digest and to detox and to kick out has slowed down. If you're exposed to mold and you're not detoxing and you're not removing, it's just going to get more and more and more sluggish. And that's when we start to see like the pathological symptoms of mold. But if your like metabolism is firing and your body is operating optimally, you can take in a toxin and move it out and be okay. And that's why, like, that's ultimately a susceptibility, right? And that's why some kids are robust and can handle anything, and some kids are like, weak little windflowers that flop about and are super vulnerable to exposure to anything, really. And the same goes like with mold, or like tick bites, or Lyme, or anything really, Coxsackie, Epstein-Barr, any virus, any pathogen. It ultimately comes down to your body's susceptibility to it.
Sure.
So that's what we want to work on. That's root cause. We want to build
Yeah.
you back up. You want to be resilient and robust to take on anything. Like, I want to be able to look mold in the eye and be like, shh, I'm cool, man. I got you. I can do this.
And then on that, do you think that women are more susceptible to mold and all these things because we are so busy running around? Even if you're not a mom, you're just busy doing everything for everyone and giving of yourself to everyone instead of giving back to yourself.
There it is. Exactly.
Mm,
Absolutely.
mm,
Yeah, they were talking about like how men suffer more, they can suffer more sort of like the mental and emotional, like their symptoms are more like depressive, whereas women's first things are often like sinuses and reproductive and then mood. But I'm sort of like, I think it's more just because we don't have, like, we can't be having depressive episodes right now. Like, we've got households to run and children to take care of, and yeah.
yeah, it's so interesting. And I was reading that, or I was talking to Candice Gig, we were talking about it just now, about like breast cancer, and how I'd heard like it's usually the people that are giving of themselves, like give, 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 and don't look after themselves first, that end up. And she gave me a stat, and she was because she's gone through it, and she gave me a stat, but it was just like, and I know men can get breast cancer too, but it's just more about, it's usually about the women just giving, giving. Because I said, I'm sure in Durban, the amount of trauma that we've all gone through, first of all, COVID 2 years, then it was the riots, which was horrific. And then you had the floods. I think Durban people, I said, there must be such an interesting stat of people with immune disorders, anxiety and depression, and then like cancers going through the body right now, because it's all like brought on by stress. And the amount of stress that we've had compared to other cities is like, you can't even explain it.
Madness. It's madness. I agree. Yeah. In homeopathy, we've got these things, the theories called miasms, right? And miasms are like your susceptibility, or your genetic taint or your genetic inheritance that you take on. And there's a miasm called the cancerinic miasm. And people who are carrying this cancerinic miasm are your people pleasers, perfectionism tendencies, wanting to do everything right, not wanting to upset others. And it's so, what's so fascinating is often they see beauty like everywhere they look. Everything is beauty. They love nature. They love to be in beautiful environments, and they try to keep beautiful relationships or beautiful environments in their relationships. And often at the expense of like their inner self, their inner needs, and the word often along cancer and miasm is to endure, right? Like, I'll just endure it
Yeah.
to keep the peace, or to make this right, or to keep it perfect, or to, yeah. And like, it's amazing how, I mean, you don't have to have a cancerinic miasm to get cancer, and you don't have to get cancer to be cancerinic, but often you can see how those, I mean, how often you can see particularly women who suffer or experience cancer tend to have those mental and emotional tendencies, or thought patterns. Yeah.
And I think that's why root cause medicine is so important, and everyone can call us woo woo or whatever they want, but things things can fester from and become like, from a metaphysical point of view. Like, I always read whenever my friends send me a thing about a headache or this or that, I go straight to that Louise Hay book, and I'm like, click, 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 here you go, have a look. And they're like, oh yeah, I have actually felt like this. I'm like, well, it's become that because you haven't been looking after yourself or putting yourself first, or you've been like allowing these things to happen.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like an example is like skin stuff, right? So like particularly like eczemas and psoriasis. Okay. And they're linked to, of anything on our skin is linked to our digestive system, our gut. Okay. But the mental and emotionals is boundaries. It's all about boundaries. And more often than not, having your boundaries crossed or not having good enough boundaries to protect yourself. So you feel like your boundaries are constantly being invaded, right? And this is what I see. I see it with patients all the time. I have this eczema. Okay, let's go there. Let's go. And we go and we go and we go. Someone's pissed off me. Someone's, like pushed my boundary, or maybe it's a personal thing. Like maybe that patient's like, I keep allowing them to cross my boundaries. I've got really weak boundaries. I don't know how to set a boundary. Like it's so fascinating.
I did not know that. That is fascinating.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I know, I love it. And like with kids who've got eczema and psoriasis stuff, right? Always look at their gut. Always look at what's happening in the gut. But on like mental and emotional things, their boundaries are being crossed on some level. Something has crossed their boundary and they're not able to verbalize like we are, right? That's why they manifest their symptoms so beautifully. Like we see it. We see the physical stuff so quickly because they can't tell you, you've crossed my boundary, mom or dad or whatever. Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
oh, it's fascinating.
It's
So that's also
fascinating.
so interesting because, like homeopathy, you don't even think about all these things that you're bringing in. You just think, okay, she's trained in this. She can mix her. I like to call
The
them your
remedy.
potions. She mixes her potions. They're not potions, guys. Just don't get it. Don't be scared. Your remedy, and that's it. But you don't actually realize. I know it's more natural than like taking, like your other, what is the medication? Yes, medical
Yeah.
antibiotics,
Pharmaceuticals.
pharmaceuticals, yes. But I didn't know that you go so deep into it like this.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah. It's so fascinating. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that you obviously have like your remedies, but then you treat everyone on a case by case because everyone's body's different and what their needs are different as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's individualized. And what I love about it is that it doesn't suppress. So yes, I've got a snotty nose and I'm going to work purely on an acute level and I'm going to treat your snotty nose and your body's going to push it out or balance itself to deal with the snotty nose. Nothing wrong with having a snotty nose, and we move on. Whereas like pharmaceutical medicine says, okay, don't like the snotty nose, let's dry it up, let's suppress it, let's move it out of the way so we can't see it. So everything looks cool and we'll deal with
Mm.
it. We'll deal with it again when it pops up at a later stage.
But it's not that root cause, eh? It's not actually treating that root cause of why you have the snotty nose.
Exactly.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah.
Just a quick little interlude here. If you're enjoying this episode, I would love to reach a lot more people and help them on their journey back to themselves. So if you could do me a favor, and most of you are listening on your phone, can you just press pause and head to the share button and send this to a friend that you think might enjoy it? It really does help me to reach more people and it helps me to be able to help them and for them to then carry on their journey of self-love. Thank you. So moving into the self-love realm and self-care, what is your take on, okay, well, obviously this is mostly aimed at women, so we're going to talk about women in general. What is your take on health and wellness of women, non-mothers, mothers, and the link between the two of like not looking after yourself and not putting yourself first, and then like your medical, like the medical side of it where we just end up depleted, hey?
Totally.
Do you think there's like a huge correlation?
Yeah, I think I think ultimately it comes down to the fact that we live in a world that doesn't support feminine physiology, right? Like how our female biology and our female physiology operates is so different to men, right? So men work on a 24-hour circadian rhythm. Like testosterone rises and then testosterone falls. And that's every 24 hours they experience that productivity, rise, high energy, and then at night it drops and falls. Whereas women, we work on a 28-day cycle, right? And we are manipulated by estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, as well as other little hormones that come into play. So we experience periods of like high rising energy, peaks of energy, falls of energy, and so like our physiology is slower, right? We take time to manifest something. I mean, it takes us 14 days to build an egg, right? And then like, well, actually it takes us 3 months to make an egg that comes all the way up to finally be dropped, in ovulation. But 14 days to build in that little follicular phase. And then 14 days for it to fall away before menstruation happens. So women operate in a much slower, you know, fashion or manner, right? And our nervous systems, this is what's fascinating about women, is that our nervous systems are forever on the lookout to say, is it safe? Is it safe for my body to make this egg and to drop this egg and to potentially become pregnant, right? That's ultimately like what we are. Like as a human being species, like our biology is primed to say, is it safe for me to make an egg so that I can have a baby? Like that's basically how we are, right? So our nervous systems are always looking like, is it safe to make an egg? Is it safe to make a baby? Even if we don't want one or not, right? And so that's how we're operating. We're forever operating in this like, am I safe? Am I nourished? Am I resourced? Am I balanced enough to drop an egg and potentially have a baby? Whereas men can shoot like sperm on a daily, right? Like they're not operating how we operate. They're about go, productivity, protect, create, manifest, do something, end, start all over again the next day. Whereas we have this like 28 to 32 day building process, and that's usually like how long it takes us to have an idea, bring it to fruition, take it through. Like we're cyclical, right? And in those cycles we have periods that require deep energy and nourishment, and parts of our cycle that require deep rest and restoration. And this is ultimately why I think women are floundering, is because we're not living like that. We're not living in tune with what our physiology needs, like what our physiology is asking for. Like there are periods or moments in our cycle that require us to literally be doing nothing and like lying down and sleeping and nurturing and like shedding our endometriums. And how many women are doing that? Like most women are like moving on, like taking ibuprofen, use my tampon, living my best, like I'm gonna go run a marathon today, like we're almost like that disconnected from what our body wants and needs. And I think that's where we're seeing the suffering coming in.
Yeah, and we just get so exhausted and we're like,
Right.
why? And that safety thing is so interesting, okay, from a woo-woo perspective. My friend did my astrology, Meg, the expert astrologer, and there's another one, Siobhan. She actually edits this podcast. Hey, Siobhan. So there's Luna Vanilla and the expert astrologer. I always shout them both out. Um, so we were doing it after the riots last year. I think it was in September I did it with her. And I never understood why I was not fine. Like the week after, everyone was driving around and I drove around and I was like looking around, like, why is everyone acting normal? Like this is freaking me out. So she told me that, everything, you have all the different planets and the different houses. And she told me that the one was in the one where my safety in my own home is so important. She was like, this would have rocked you to your absolute core. She said, no wonder you're not fine. And then other
Yeah.
people don't have that placement. So that's why they're fine and what going around. And I have clients that are like, oh, I was in my house. I was fine. I wasn't worried at all. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? So it's so interesting how, so that feeling, checking outside, is it safe for this egg? That's like for me, especially, I think that on a daily basis, I'm probably running on so much adrenaline just generally daily because of that kind of safety in general, that it's so interesting. And that's probably why I
Absolutely.
feel run down every so often. And oh my word.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, so this is basically what I'm teaching in this masterclass, this coaching container that I'm going to be teaching on, is all about this, right? How we can not trick, because our nervous system, we can't trick it, right? But we can teach it to feel safe again, right? So for so many years, we bypass our needs. Like let's take this back to like when you get your period, right? Like 12 years old. All of a sudden you feel like this is wrong, this is bad, I'm less capable, I'm less strong, I can't keep up with that boy. I can't do that gala now because, oh my God, what happens if I bleed? Like, there's so much, right? There's so much. Then you make boobs, then you start making this hair, and there's all this like trauma around like puberty and change. And I often find like that's where women are carrying their stuff, is because it was never embraced or celebrated. And so from the get-go,
Or taught, really.
no, not at all. Yeah. And so from the get-go of our menstruating years, instead of nourishing and teaching women what you need in in your reproductive years and throughout your cycle, we were told to ignore it or to suppress it or to, pretend it doesn't exist, or, it's a bad thing, or it's going to slow you down from achieving, like, in the world that we live in, this very masculine driven productivity, it slows you down, right? So a lot of people are disconnected, and think now, like 15 years, 20 years, how many years of like experiencing ovulation and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. Only when we're in our like 30s do most women come like, oh yeah, I have a period, oh yeah, let me pay attention to my period. Most women don't want to know anything about it until like they have to have a baby. Right? And so the whole point of this course is to re-educate on how we can serve ourselves, right? How we can serve our reproductive health, how we can serve our metabolism, and ultimately, like, rewire the nervous system, like change those neural pathways, so that we can trick our nervous system into feeling safe, right? And like the ultimate way is to stabilize our blood glucose. Like, number one, like if we have hyperglycemia, nervous system freaks out, right? Releases adrenaline, cortisol, insulin, like this cascade of like shit that happens when you have hyperglycemia, which we know. But exactly the same thing happens with hypoglycemia. So, skip a meal, you're living on caffeine, you're fasting, you're going on a juice cleanse, like all this shit that we do, right? Hypoglycemia, body freaks out in the exact same way. It's saying, I'm not nourished. I'm not getting the vital vitamins and minerals that I need. Like, this is not a safe environment for me to make a baby. This is not a safe environment for me to make an egg. Whether or not you want to have a baby, whether or not if you want to have babies, or if you don't want, you're done with having babies, doesn't matter. Your instinctive biology is still saying, is it safe for me to make a baby? Yeah.
Sure.
So like, hypoglycemia, nervous system regulation, supporting our adrenals, these are all like lost arts in a way. Like, we've forgotten how to do this.
Forgotten that we need to eat.
And love ourselves and nourish ourselves and rest ourselves. It almost needs to be like indoctrinated in a way. Like, women need to like be taught this information that you are worthy of taking time out and resting and replenishing and restoring, because what you are doing in a 28 to 30-day cycle is massive in comparison to what a man's doing. Okay, so you cannot be expected to keep pace. It's not the same race. We are not running the same race. And that's why there's dysfunction, is because so many of us are trying to run the same race.
Yeah, and just keep doing everything in like those 24-hour little blocks, but you can't. You need to actually take that time too. And even in human design, if you're a manifested generator, it's like we just go, 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 go. Do all the little things. Even generators, they just do energy, 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 energy. And I think that's why we just get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to experience burnout now. I should just slow down a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We need to start a new cult. The self-love cult, where everyone just lies. I can't help you now. I'm going to be lying on the couch and just relaxing. Thanks, bye. It is my final retreat, and it is actually a day retreat. Yes. So if you live in the Midlands and you don't want to come and trek, you are right there. You don't have to stay over anywhere. If you're from Durban, you can either drive up for the day, or you can book anywhere you want the night before and make a weekend of it as well. So it is from 9 to 1 p.m. on Sunday, the 27th of November in the KZN Midlands. So you get to choose What do you want to do? Do you want to book the whole weekend with your family and then escape from 9 to 1? Do you want to do the night before, or do you want to just drive up for the day? I'm so excited. We will be at Mini Me Patisserie in the Midlands. There's a waterfall. We're going to do beginner yoga. We're going to do guided meditations, journaling by the waterfall. We're going to have coffee and high tea snacks. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. I'm super excited for this. I've been wanting to do one for a while, and I can't wait to have you with me.
And this is a question that I always ask my clients. I'm like, how would you feel if you had 20 minutes to yourself? What would you do? Oh, I don't know. Make a cup of tea, pack the dishwasher, I'd unpack the dishwasher. I don't know. I'd scroll on Instagram. Like, I don't know. Like, people don't know what to do with it because there's like so much anxiety around taking time for yourself. Like, and it's super uncomfortable, right? Like, that's why nobody wants to do the meditation part of yoga, because then you have to just sit there with these feelings.
And they're like, they'll be like, are we doing a guided meditation today? I'm like, why? Because you don't want to lie there in silence with the song. Oh, okay.
And it's a trauma response, right? It's a trauma response to feelings of unworthiness or feelings of neglect or whatever it is. We do these things to cope, right? We become super productive, or we become super kind or helpful or whatever. All the things we do now are these trauma responses, because our nervous system is dysregulated. And that's like the biggest thing I see with women when they come for like deep metabolic restoration. They say things like, oh, I can fall asleep so easily at night, or I'm so much more chilled, like I'm less frazzled, I'm less on edge. Like, those are great signs of metabolic health, right? To be able to sit in your body and not feel like you're buzzing, the adrenaline's like trying to move you. That means your system's in homeostasis and in balance. But if we are driven by cortisol and adrenaline all the time, body doesn't want to sit. Body wants to move, right? It's an actionable hormone. It's a hormone that moves you. But if you're living on it, there's no space for rest.
I can feel like people are going to be sitting there like, and I'm also, yes, I'm manifesting generator, so I'm meant to be busy and doing all different things and lots of different things. But I also feel like when you're a second child, that you always try and not compete, but like get attention, that maybe even looking at how many sports I played and did this and how many things I studied. And then I keep studying and here's a course, here's another course, here's another course. And yes, it's in my astrology and everything. So it is who I am. But there's probably this part, like that trauma response you're saying of slowing down, that is trying to achieve to get the attention of my parents. But I've probably been doing this my whole life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, like, most adults are not looking for their attention of their parents anymore.
No.
They're not. They're settled in themselves, but it's the habit. It's that nervous system habit that we just keep doing. And that's why we need to do the deep nervous system regulation to we can turn those pathways off, man. You don't need them anymore. That doesn't need to be the driver of your life anymore.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. That's why homeopathy is so amazing, right? Because that's what homeopathy does. It's like, it just sees, it's vibrational. So it sees the dysfunction and it goes there and it goes, calm down. Like, and it makes you, again, susceptibility, but then it makes you more susceptible or receptive to all the external changes that you want to implement, right? So like, if you're like, I need to go for life coaching and or counseling or psychology or whatever, you're going to be more susceptible to taking that information in if you're in a balanced state. Whereas if you're vibrating, out of balance or out of whack, it's much harder to integrate. Okay. So that's why homeopathy is such a great modality, because it works with everything. It makes the path easier and smoother for anything else you want to add to your healing process.
Sure. And then so when someone comes to you for like the metabolic modalities and all that, so then you will just assess them and have you also do, because you're in Hilton, not in like Durban anymore, do you do Zoom consults with people? I'm sure you do Cape Town, Joburg, everywhere. And then from there you assess, and then you you mix your potions, and then
Yeah,
and then you create this protocol for people depending on who they are, what they need, and all that kind of stuff.
absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So the remedy is always individualized, but
Yes.
more often than not, like the protocol, the metabolic like adaptation protocol is very much the same thing for most women. It's like get in tune with your cycle, listen to what your body needs, nourish your body, regulate your blood glucose, sleep when you're supposed to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I always see people complaining that they can't sleep and that they're up all night and they can't get melatonin and this and that, and they're always complaining about all this the sleep. I feel like I always see people come, yes, if you've got a baby obviously you're not sleeping, but like even those that have toddlers and teenagers or don't have any kids, like I think it must just be the stress that everyone is just in their heads and not in their body. That's the one thing I love about yoga, and I think you agree, is it's the quickest way. I was on a few American podcasts and I was talking about, they were fascinated by me teaching beginner yoga. They're like, we've never heard of anyone even doing beginner yoga. Like they said the same thing. You go to a class and you kind of have to just follow along. Um, and I said to them, like, I love it because I have personal trained for 14 years. I've done CrossFit. I've done everything. Like I know, like I've been there. I've tried everything. But for me, yoga is the quickest way to get out of your head and into your body,
Totally. Totally.
because you have to be present and you don't have your phone and you're not scrolling your phone on the treadmill. Or and so many people, even me included, back in the day when I used to be part of a gym, it's like you walk in, you walk out, and then you're like, what did I even do? Because you're so used to doing the same circuit, the same walk. You walk there, you go to the treadmill, then you go this and this and this and this, that you can literally leave there and not know what you've done because you've mindlessly gone through the motions, and or you've been scrolling your phone the whole
Mm,
time. But yoga, you can't do that. You literally have to
mm.
feel what it feels like to be on your mat. You have to listen to the person. You have to then keep adjusting your body to what they're saying, and where you really have to be present. It's probably one of the only modalities where you are literally, you have to get out of your head. You can't sit there and obsess about what happened at work, because you'll fall out of tree, like you'll fall on your face.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why when people say to me, "Oh, I don't like yoga. No, I don't not that's not for me." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's because your anxiety, your adrenaline, cortisol is so high. Like your mind is so you're so desperately looking for a distraction,
Yes,
because it's uncomfortable to be in your present
be
body.
slow, slow
Those are
down.
those those are the people that
Need
really should
it.
be doing
Yeah,
this.
so many people, many a friend has said that to me, and I'm like, you are the one who needs it the most.
You
Actually, yeah. So
I did Nikki van der Hulse's the Myo Yin class, where she does the myofascial yin. Oh my gosh, it was magnificent. I mean, I think you did like 4 poses in an hour, but like you just feel so like you've like shed layers of stuff. Like it's so powerful. I love it.
I must make a plan for that, because I've seen it and I'm like, I need to go and try.
Yeah,
She's
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, I'm gonna put that down now that you've said that. See, sometimes you see things and then once someone else says it, then you're like, okay, universe, that was my sign. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. If anything, like if you're gonna do any like self-love, that is the ultimate self-love. Like she literally tells you to just be there with your breath and feel these uncomfortable things that come up. And you can't move. You just got to sit there and breathe it out. And it's like that's why it's so healing.
Yeah, because you are actually working through it. You're not
Processing.
pressing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
I
man,
know.
this has been amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Whenever I do these things, I can literally like start thinking about people that I know that need to hear like this message, and I'm like, "Oof, can't wait for them to hear this."
Here's a small list.
Yeah, yeah. Let me email you the link directly. But so your course that you're doing now, so I'm part of the parenting one. So Meg does this amazing one. I mean, I love a tissue salt, and even before you were doing this, I've always been into that kind of stuff. So I think like learning about it is like going to be so fascinating for me. So it's a self-paced course, and it's for like mom. Is it just for moms, or is it, yeah,
Parents, yeah.
it's for parents to know like what to use and like your home kind of what to keep at home and how to treat with homeopathy. So it's very interesting. And then you've got the matriarch one. Tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's really the hormonal health and the reestablishing the metabolism and learning how to live within your like how to support that feminine physiology. So
Mm,
it's lots of education about how the body works, right? And then
mm,
tools that we can start implementing to better serve our body so that we don't have to be, you know what it is? It's I sometimes find with women is that we almost like slaves to the symptoms that we experience, right? So it's like I'm out with a migraine, I'm out with a migraine for 3 days, or like I'm like I have horrendous menstrual pain, or like I suffer with her terrible IBS, and like those are all symptoms. They're all symptoms of a poorly functioning metabolism, of a poorly functioning, body system. So ultimately, I don't want to just spend my days treating your IBS or your migraines. Like I want to help you get this right. Because if your metabolism is firing, right, your metabolism is the driver of all the other organ systems in our body. So if it's undernourished and under resourced and maladaptive, it's not going to waste its energy on digestion. So digestion starts to dysfunction. It's not going to waste its energy on skin health or immunity. So that starts to shrivel up. Reproduction shrivels up. So that's why we're seeing these symptoms, because metabolism's going, I'm not wasting my energy. My job is to keep you alive, right? So my goal with the course is to get people involved, understand why they need to keep their metabolisms firing so that they can stop like suffering with these symptoms that slow us down and ultimately affect how we live, right? They affect how we operate in our relationships. They affect how we mother. They affect how we, go to work and do our job. Like if you've got IBS, you're not enjoying your life, right? If you're suffering with
yeah.
PFAS, you're not enjoying your life. We don't have to suffer these symptoms if we get the root, firing again. Yeah.
Isn't it such a woman thing to just suffer through stuff, like being a martyr?
Endure, endure. It's this word that I keep
Yeah.
feeling, and I'm like, no, we don't have to do this anymore. Like, we are these magnificent human beings. Like, we literally create life. Like, that is our physiological design, right? Is like we freaking magnificent powerhouses. If you want to have a baby or not, doesn't matter. But as women,
Mm,
we are so powerful. Like, if you're not creating a baby, you can use that same beautiful energy to create magnificent projects in your life. We really are
mm.
these alchemizers. We're fabulously magnificent. Yeah. We don't be wasting our energy on symptoms. We need to be making things.
Yeah, exactly. Creating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so where can everyone get hold of you? So what is your social media? If they want to do the course, can they just sign up on your website for the course?
Yeah. It's on the course, on the website. So you can just sign up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And it's www dot
drmegdina.co.za.
yeah, so Dr.
Yeah.
Dr. Megan Medina. I'll put it in the show notes as well, .co.za. And then your Instagram is the same
And
as Dr.
Megan.
Megan Medina. You don't have any underscores or anything, hey? No.
Uh,
No, it's all one word.
yeah.
It's a nice name. No one else has it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So helpful. In the
Yeah, very.
Instagram world, so helpful.
Thank you, Meg. I have a feeling that we're going to do more of these. Like I had a little download while you were talking. I'm like, I feel like we need to do like little mini ones, like a little mini fertility one and an IBS, and maybe we'll do some little mini ones
Self-love
to talk about.
stuff.
Yes, I love it. So thank you so much for this. I feel like treating yourself of your symptoms and anything that's bothering you is a total self-care and a self-love that you can give yourself. Like stop being a martyr and stop enduring. And the biggest lesson, the biggest thing that you can do on your self-love journey is to actually treat those symptoms. Stop ignoring them.
Yeah.
Stop marching on. It's like I have had this pain in my stomach for like a week now. I'm like, what? You need to go have a scan or something. Like we need to sort that out.
Check it out.
Yeah, so stop enduring. That is our mantra for the rest of the year. Stop enduring, women. Go and
Yeah.
get yourself tested, checked out, or chat to Meg, send her a DM or an email and just chat to her and see. My favorite thing is even though I didn't want a child and then I had one and I'm very happy I had one. But so many, every time she gets a patient that has a positive pregnancy test, she shares it in her stories or on her Instagram. I love seeing that. Even though I don't know them, I'm just like sending them like blessings. I'm like, oh, that's so
Me
nice.
too.
Yeah, it must be so
It's
nice.
such a wonderful
Yeah.
feeling, yeah. And to know like how much they put into it, and then they send you this
Yes.
test, and you're like, it's yours. Like it's so like it's time to rejoice. Yeah, it's wonderful.
What you're doing is very special, helping so many people. So I hope that you're proud of yourself. I know you're probably not every day. We don't feel proud of ourselves or our brands, and we think that our brands are so small and
Mm.
it's not reaching a lot of people, whatever the case is. But yeah, I'm telling you that you're doing amazing things. So sometimes we need to, and then you need to sit with that and actually be like, okay, thank you. Yes, I will take it. I receive that.
Thank you. I am going to receive it. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening, and I will speak to you next week. Thanks for listening to Unselfishly Me. Follow us on Instagram at unselfishlyme and check out our website www.unselfishlyme.com.